He was whipping up anger in a kettle, festering hatred like steam out the ears, manifesting rage in a kettle. Mate, the screams, boiling rage in a kettle.
Is this the best patch from Zenless since Season 1? 3.1 has been so good that it's honestly making me a little nervous. For me, patch 3.1 has been everything that made me fall in love with Zenless. The comedy in this chapter was brilliant. The scenes with Sigrid are some of the funniest moments. The scene with the APD officer and the Mr. Roars felt like something straight out of a D&D campaign.
I'm the Mr. Roar who works on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Rawr!
I'm the Mr. Roar for the Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday shifts. Rawr!
That signature catchphrase. Yeah, that's definitely Mr. Roar.
I've said it before, but Zenless is at its best when it's able to balance humor and emotional scenes, because there are still some really emotional scenes from this chapter. What Season 3 has been pretty good at is developing the proxy as a character. Last chapter, we saw how they're holding this guilt from what happened at Helios Academy with Truvia and Serpico. 3.1 continues this arc by having them show up in the story. If 3.0 was showing the proxy being haunted by ghosts of the past, 3.1 is setting up the proxy to facing those same ghosts. Truvia is here on behalf of Tops, and Serpico is seemingly the one behind the whole conflict. The proxy goes through some real emotional distress in this arc, and I frickin' loved it. We saw how reckless the proxy was when they tried to recover that picture of Serpico. They didn't care that the robot was going to explode at any second. They needed to know, and they even got mad at Remielle when she stops them. The proxy also goes through despair when Truvia is straight up impaled. Because of this, the proxy feels powerless.
Oh, you powerful Pyrois.
Supposed to be powerful, Pyrois. So why? Why didn't you use that power to save her?
It's good to see characters go through emotional highs, but it's also interesting when a character hits a low point. Anger, powerlessness, despair, these are all emotions that we're not used to seeing from the proxy, so I'm interested in seeing how they're going to continue to develop in the future. 3.1 also did something that I've been missing in Zenless. This CG still is one of my favorite moments in Zenless so far. This is exactly the relationship I want to see between Wise and Belle. Anybody that has a good relationship with their sibling knows that you will tease and fight with your sibling, but your sibling is also your biggest supporter. Seeing the siblings look out and take care of each other is a strong emotional core. It's a small moment and it's not really that exciting, but it shows so much of their characters. It shows how this probably isn't the first time that the proxy knocked out from working late at night. I also like how the sibling got to show that they're just as smart by figuring out the pattern with the singularities. It shows how Phaethon are a team, and it's not one sibling over the other, they're equals. So far, Season 3 has been 2 for 2 for story quests, which is a good sign. But what makes me have a lot of hope for Zenless' story is how much they've improved from last patch. Zenless has been experimenting with a new type of cutscene. Last patch, there was a noticeable pause between lines, and there were moments that felt too stiff. In 3.1, there's no delay between voice lines. It flows together seamlessly. Animation-wise, it could be better because there's still some stiffness to it. It reminds me of how anime will show two characters but pan the camera so there's some movement. I get why they're doing this. It's a more immersive way of storytelling compared to the Zoom calls, and it's more time efficient than a fully rendered cutscene. I honestly don't mind it because there are some moments that really work even with its limitations. There's a moment when the proxy meets with Truvia for the first time, and you can see how nervous the proxy is. Another good moment was when the proxy saves Remielle and she doesn't want them to see her. I like the framing of them being back to back while having this really personal conversation. Even though they aren't looking at each other, you can still feel that there's a connection between them. You can see how their eyes move to the side as if they're tempted to turn around. I also like the detail when the proxy's eyes soften and become less intense when they try and find the word to describe their relationship. You can see that the devs put a lot of thought into how to animate the eyes, which does a lot for conveying their emotions. It's all very simple animation, but it is effective. But I can't talk about the main story quest without talking about Remielle. So the devs cooked when they were writing Remielle, which isn't a surprise because she's an Elysia XP, so of course they did their best. What makes Remielle work is how fleshed out her character is. She has this complicated relationship with Sunbringer. It's clear that she still sees her as a close friend because she goes out of her way to protect Roscalifer and the other Sunbringers, despite the fact that she really doesn't have an emotional connection to them. She does it because she wants to protect her friend's legacy. We can see in that flashback how close the Void Hunters were to each other. Which, speaking of which, that comic was just so good. It wouldn't surprise me if Joyous wandered into a hollow drunk one evening and he had to escape while he was hungover. While Sunbringer is Remielle's friend, there's also a real pain that Remielle feels because she wants to know the truth. What were Archie and Sunbringer experimenting with? This is what makes her dynamic with the Proxy so compelling. She's very similar to the Proxy. Both of them were part of an experiment with a sun-related name. They both tried to pursue something that would save humanity from the Hollows, but something went wrong and they lost somebody close to them. They both understand what each other have been through and are able to support each other. In general, the Proxy is usually the emotional anchor for the newest agent. It's rare that the agent is there for the Proxy. They work really well together, and this is something that is done because the devs took the time to develop their characters and this dynamic over time. It wasn't done in a single patch. We got to see different parts of Remielle's personality before we got into her tragic backstory. All this buildup is paid off when we see those personal moments between the Proxy and Remielle. It's just well done in my opinion. While we're talking about tragedy, let's talk about Serpico. I made a quick theory video about Serpico you can check out, but long story short, Serpico is either a construct controlled by yokai, or he's working with yokai like how Phaethon works with Fairy. I'm excited because Serpico has a lot of potential to make Zenless' story even stronger. I really hope that he becomes a long-term villain and is not just a one-season bad guy. If I had a criticism for this arc, it's that I wish Billy and Cecilia got more involved. I felt that Cecilia and Billy left the Proxy alone a little too quickly and a bit too easily. But the slice of life moments at breakfast or when they try to take care of the Proxy at the end are still good moments. I just wish we got a little bit more of them. If you've made it this far, it probably means you don't hate what I'm saying so far, so subscribe for more Zenless content. Now back to the video. I'll be honest with you guys, the summer event was just okay. As a slice of life story, I thought it was perfectly fine. The conflict with Favko isn't that interesting. He runs a security company that's basically a scam. He's honestly pretty forgettable. I had to look up his name because I just forgot. But he's not that important. The whole event is about Sigrid trying to fit in New Eridu. Sigrid made a bet with Norma, so she has to run a store and throw a bonfire party at the resort. Sigrid has poor people skills, and the only thing she really excels at is combat. What's interesting is that her story is similar to Remielle in the sense that they're both trying to belong in a new world. The world is changing and they need to adapt to it. They do this by helping the Proxy and Lucy run the store. In the end, both of them are welcomed to New Eridu, and are given a gift as a symbol of their belonging. Remielle gets a seashell souvenir from the Proxy, and Sigrid is given a fishing rod, which is a hobby that Sigrid picked up while she was at the resort. The story is solid enough. As for the gameplay, there really isn't much to write home about, because it's your standard business management sim that Hoyoverse likes doing. You collect seashells, then you sell those seashells to reach a revenue goal. Like the rest of the event, it's just fine. I do like the wipeout when you collect shells. These smaller and low stake events are important, however, to see the characters in a more relaxed setting, and we get to see them interact with other characters that they usually wouldn't in the main story. What I'm more excited to talk about is the Operation Bagel event. This game mode feels challenging without relying on a timer. Now, there is one, but it actually adds to the fun instead of hinders it. And I'll explain that in a little bit. A mechanic that I love from Season 1 Zenless was corruption. In TV mode, if you accumulated too much corruption, you would get a debuff. Your agents would lose HP, the bosses would do more damage, or the worst one in my opinion was your dodge had a longer cooldown. This made it so you had to be careful and manage your corruption before going to another combat tile. This made it so that there was a threat of dying. Operation Bagel takes that basic concept and adds to it. Corruption is in the game mode, but now it lowers your max HP, and once it's lowered, you can't get it back. There are healing items, but they're limited. You can only store 3 healing items in a given inventory slot. If you wanted to load up on healing items, you could, but you would be giving up on stronger items like Etheric Phantoms. On top of that, there aren't many healing items in the Hollows. In Hollow Zero, you could find different tiles that would heal your HP or even remove corruption. That's not the case in this game mode. There's only really one station to revive your characters, and while you do get healing items from enemy drops, only stronger enemies drop them, so there's still some risk involved. Because your health can be lowered, you have to make some pretty important judgment calls. Is it really worth it to risk your run for another strongbox? Maybe that's an easy decision because you have the health, but what about time? Like I said earlier, there is a timer, but it makes the game mode more interesting and not rage-inducing like Deadly Assault or Sheer Defense. For those who don't know, in the Labyrinth, you need to get out before 25 minutes or you lose. You need to escape by reaching these exits, and you either need to fight the ethereal blocking the way or pay the fee. These are the easy escape routes, and they close when there's 5 minutes left. So if you're busy fighting or finding treasure, you'll lose your chance at escaping the easy way. The hard way is fighting the boss. And at this point, the corruption has gotten to the point that your agents could die after 1 or 2 hits. Or if you're like me and misplayed, listen, I thought I was home free. I just had to get past this section with these oldest soldiers and I'm done. I made one mistake and Shongguang died, which meant that this team had no damage and I lost because I panicked. But here's the thing, I didn't mind because I know I misplayed. I played bad, I mismanaged my time, and I lost. I'm fine with that. That for me is more engaging than having to clear as quickly as possible against enemies with a bloated HP bar. It's also refreshing that I don't have to worry about disk drives or stats. I did a run with Ellen, Lycaon, and Astra. You know, a team that you could run in Season 1, and while it did take longer to defeat certain bosses, it didn't feel bad playing her like in Sheer Defense or Deadly Assault. Playing the strongest characters does make the run more comfortable, but it doesn't feel mandatory. Now, I haven't played high risk mode, so that might be a different story. I didn't even talk about my favorite part of the Labyrinth Eulodim, which is another ethereal design that Zenless absolutely knocked out of the park. It is such a good design. It's like if a Wendigo and a Grim Reaper had a child. It is intimidating from the first second we see it. I also like it from a gameplay standpoint because it's a constant threat that stalks you when you have a lot of treasure. As you get used to doing these Labyrinth runs, it does become more of a nuisance than a threat, but there are still some moments when he screwed my run in a fun way. There were multiple times when he joined other ethereals and jumped my ass. You know, I thought I was further away and I could ignore him. Nope! He found me and decided to ruin my life. There was also a different run where I thought I had time to check a chest and leave. What a damn fool I was because he came and stopped my exit. He didn't have to kill me. He just had to waste my time so the easy exits closed and I had to fight the boss. The biggest accomplishment for this game mode is that it makes the hollows feel like a legitimate threat. I can now understand the risk and stress of being in a hollow for a long period of time. I get why proxies are so important because at any moment your exit can change and you need to find a new route ASAP. I can even understand the allure of going into a hollow because for me, it's really satisfying to find a rare treasure. The gameplay matches the lore of the hollows, which is something that's been missing from Zenless. I really like this game mode, and from the reactions I've seen online, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. Like I said earlier, even for me, it took some time for me to get into it because these tutorial levels are a slog to get through. I think your experience will depend on the platform you play on. I play on PC and I've seen people have more issues on console. This isn't a perfect game mode and there's definitely room for improvement. There were a few times when the enemies went out of bounds and reset. The econ for later rounds is really high because high tier gear gets really expensive. This is also a game mode that I can see getting stagnant if there aren't constant updates. I really believe in this game mode and see this as something that is needed for Zenless long term. Patch 3.1 has been incredible so far, and I'm satisfied with how much Zenless has been getting better. It really feels like the devs are hitting their stride and know the direction they want to take the game. In the beginning of the video, I said that this patch was so good that it made me nervous, and the truth is, I'm worried that this is the best it'll be before it all goes downhill. I choose to be more optimistic and just to enjoy the patch in the moment and not worry about the future because it's pretty damn good so far. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. It might be a week, it might be a year.